Okay, we're going to be talking about looking like a freak in public, and I actually had to re-record some of this, unfortunately, because I'm dumb, and I started this and didn't do a mic check, and yeah. So basically, whenever I go out, I'm looked at like I'm a freak, and I get looks whether I go to the grocery store, whether I go to the gym, whether I walk on the sidewalk, whether I go on a trail, you know, um, whether I go to a bar, whether I go to a restaurant, and it just really makes me not want to go to any of those places anymore, and it's just really demoralizing going anywhere, just living life, and having people look at you like you're a freak, right? And I tried this whole like, oh yeah, bro, you want to look masculine, bro. You want to grow a beard out, bro. You want to, get that shape up from your barber every other week, bro. Best $50 you ever spent. Trust me, bro. And I did the whole beard thing for a little while. I tried that out. And what I found, believe it or not, for me, is that I actually got more looks. Like, I'm like some mass murderer kind of guy. Like they're looking at me scared when I had a beard. And now I decided to shave it off. I still get looks, but I get less, which is nice. But it was crazy, I'd go into the grocery store and like I'm just like grabbing food from some of the aisles, things like that. I'm just walking around, got headphones in, and literally every person is like looking at me like I'm gonna be the next Walmart shooter or something. It's crazy. And I was just like, look, this whole beard thing just just ain't working out, man. And so I eventually cut it off. But now that I don't have it, I mean, it's still kind of the same thing. No matter where I go, I'm still looked at like I'm a freak. And I think a lot of it has to do with because I'm just like a singular guy. I'm just like a single guy. And I feel like people see that and they're just like, oh, what is this like weirdo outcast freak doing here? Like, if you walk into a bar, walk into a restaurant with no girl or like no group of friends, you get the waiter staff and all them looking at you like you're some weirdo, and it's totally inhospitable. And it really just makes me not want to go out anymore, to be quite honest. Because it's like, why would you want to do that if, you know, um, adjusting my mic. Yeah, why would you want to like go to these restaurants and stuff like that if you're like treated like like they don't want your business, like they don't want you to be there. And it's just kind of crazy that I get that vibe from them. Um, but yeah, so, you know, I go into these restaurants, like I went into a restaurant today and, I just walk in or whatever. And it's like, the waiter staff, they look at you, look you up and down. And it's like, look, like, I already know. It's just me. Yeah, I get that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's already bad enough. But now they want to like, look me up and down and, square me up like, is this guy gonna like attack somebody or something like that? It's like insane. And I really feel like, I'm just getting like looks of disgust, look like I'm like a freak. And the crazy part is like I don't even think I'm sub 5. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't think I'm sub 5, but I feel like I get looks a lot of the times like I am, which is crazy. And it, like I said, it just makes you not want to like go out. And the other part of it is like I remember ordering like Chinese takeout, and I'm on the phone with the guy, And I'm like, yeah, let me just get like the orange chicken or whatever, combo. And then, that's it. And he's like, oh, is that it? I was like, yeah, that's it. He's like, oh, nothing else? Nothing, no one else? Nothing else? And it's like, bro, like, you don't have to like drill it in, You don't have to like take the knife, stab it in me, and then twist it around. You know what I mean? Like, can you chill with that? Can you actually like not do that? And it's kind of the same vibe when I go to restaurants, just in general, anywhere, by myself. Like, you get the waiter staff, they come up to you, they like don't really look at you, you know, and uh, they're like, oh, what can I get for you, like that kind of thing. And I'm like, oh yeah, can I have this, and that? And I'm like, yeah, whatever, yeah. And then they go away, and it's like, okay, like I get it, you know, just like one guy, and apparently that's illegal too. Apparently, all these copers, all these like red pill copers, right? They're like, oh yeah, bro, just date yourself, king. Oh, treat yourself right, Oh yeah, bro, like you really gotta just treat yourself, make yourself happy, do what makes you happy, king. And then you go and like go out to a restaurant, do it by yourself, date yourself. And guess what happens? You get treated like an outcast. And it's like, bro, like, I'm not paying for this experience, Like, what is this? This is totally demoralizing. Like, my life already is demoralizing without having to deal with, being treated like a freak by, waiting staff and like just other random people and civilians out and about when I'm like walking on the sidewalk or like in a grocery store or on like, a trail or something. It's like, and I genuinely think that just like being a single guy has a lot to do with it. Like that scares people, like, oh, a single guy being out and living life. Like, I didn't realize that was a crime. Like I always had to, have a girl with me 24/7, or I always have to have like a group of friends with me. Otherwise, I'm basically like a violent criminal practically, it seems like, because like even when I'm like just walking on the sidewalk, you get like random pedestrians and whatnot like tripping over themselves and like trying to walk around me as much as they can, and then they're like tripping, they're like you know tripping over hills and like walking into trees by accident. It's like, bro, like, do I really look that scary? Like, come on, like I'm literally just walking, like usually have like my headphones in, like is it that threatening? Like, geez. And then you got like, when you're on like a trail, like you get these girls are always like, scared of you, and like it's crazy. You can just sense that they're like afraid of you. The old men too are also like afraid. And you have to be like, oh, hey, good morning, hi, oh, or else it's like, if you don't do that, then you can get some weird fucking looks. You gotta vibe check that, man. Like, it's crazy. So, it's really weird that I get these looks, looks that I'm like a freak, and I understand, it could just be all in my head. That's true. But at the same time, it's like, if it happened one time, then sure, like, we could just sit here and like joke about it and be like, oh, yeah, that was weird. That person must have been having a bad day. But it's like, how many data points do we need? How many times does this need to happen over and over and over the course of like years and months or whatever, for you to be like, okay, I'm starting to see a trend here. I'm starting to see a pattern. People literally look at me like, I'm the next like Walmart shooter or something. Like, what's up with that, dude? Like, I'm literally just walking around doing nothing, like living my life. Like, I don't even understand it. And like, back in the day, like being like a hyper masculinity cope or whatever, it was kind of beneficial like in school because like, I mean, I remember I used to get bullied a lot, and I remember in the hallways, like guys would literally like shoulder check me or whatever, just like walking through the halls, like in between classes, things like that. But then once I like started doing sports more seriously, and working out, what I noticed is that like people would start like walking around me because I just got like a bigger frame, I guess. Um, and it's like that was great, back in the day in school. That was like a really big confidence boost. Um, but like nowadays, I think it's like biting me in the butt, like like being hyper masculinity coper, like yeah, I feel like I'm just like scaring people at this point, I just like look like a freak. Like, I walk into the club or into the bar or restaurant and people are like, what is this guy doing here? Like, who let this guy out of the psych ward? Like, what is this guy doing here? Is he gonna like shoot this place up or something? And it's like, dude, can I just get like my barbecue or something? Can I just like get my burger or something? Like, is that okay? Like, I'm just trying to like get out of the house, get a burger or something, hang out, maybe get a beer. Is that like a legal action? Like, is that an acceptable action that I, am allowed to do? Or am I just gonna like get all these looks from people and like get treated like I'm a second class citizen from the waiting staff, and like more or less like feel like they just want me out of the restaurant, and then like it's just a terrible experience at this point. I'm just tired of doing it. It makes me not want to go to restaurants anymore. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But yeah, I don't know if anyone else um, has ever kind of experienced like feeling this way and having people like look at you in that way. Like it's kind of crazy. Like I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I didn't think I was like sub five looks, but I feel like you know a lot of people look at me and perceive me in like a really not the most attractive way or something like that. I'm not really sure. And I think, like I said, or I don't know if I said in this one or the re I messed up the recording, so I had to redo it. But I don't know if I said in this one, but I don't know. It might have a lot to do with just being like a single guy. Like I feel like you're a criminal. If you're a single guy, you're a criminal. If you don't have a girl with you at all times wherever you go, then you must be like committing crimes. If you don't have a group of friends wherever you go, then you must be committing crimes. And it's like that's actually the vibe that I'm getting off of people. It's like I literally can't just like live my life, you know, hang out, do things alone. It's like that's illegal at this point. So, you know, I don't know if anyone else has kind of felt that way, but it's just kind of crazy that, looks have that much of an effect. And honestly, at this point, I really don't know how to even like fix that. Like, I don't even know how to like change that. Like, I feel like I've done so much in the looks department. The only thing is like, oh, bro, you just really gotta focus on, dressing well, bro. But it's like, I feel like even when I do dress well, I still get like looks like I'm like a freak. So I don't know what else there really is. What other options there really are? Like I think it's just like the life that I'm destined to live at this point. Which, I mean, yeah, that kind of makes sense when you think about it, right? That's just like genetics at that point. So it's very brutal. Um, and I don't know, just thinking about that, it's like, what kind of girl would want to be around a guy that gets perceived in that way? Like, I don't know if that's really gonna work out. I mean, I get it that there are some girls that like kind of like the hyper masculinity coper look or whatever, because it's like kind of like a protector vibe or something along those lines. But nowadays I think they're more into like the pretty boy thing or whatever. So I'm kind of it's kind of over for me. You know what I mean? And I actually saw this really interesting study done on rats, which it kind of like completely uh, like correlated with like the human existence. And basically, what it was is that it was showing that when rats were like in an overcrowded area, the mating pattern started to change, similar to like how it's changing nowadays, where it's kind of overcrowded. Um, and basically, like the Giga Chad rats had like a harem of ratettes, and then the other rats, like some of them became like what do they call them, like vegetable men or whatever in Japan, or Salad Men or something like that. It's been a while, but yeah, basically guys that like just basically like Japanese inkies. You know, they just choose to live a life, you know, um, with no dating and choose to live a life without like work and stuff like just like being a neat, whatever it is for Japanese men. But yeah, it was like that, and it's like that's happening globally now at this point, and there are like Chad harems too. I feel like I could be wrong, but I feel like that's maybe a thing. Um, and yeah, the rat experiment showed also that like the male rats would kind of like pedicure, manicure themselves, like groom themselves in a way to like look more feminine to attract the women. And it's kind of crazy because like you see that nowadays too, where like maybe a few decades ago, um, or even in other countries, like more of a hyper masculinity coper kind of aesthetic was more attractive potentially for girls, maybe in the past or other countries, maybe. But now the pretty boy look is in, and in the rat experiment, it showed that um, you know the rats would also become like pretty boys in their own way. And we're seeing that today. We see that like with TikTok, these guys are like wearing makeup and you know like showing off their hair, their bus and zoomer haircut, and you know their jawline and stuff like that. It's so cringe. Um, but it's like in the society of severe overpopulation and massive choice for women, that essentially is the only way that they're able to garner a significant other, I suppose. And, you know, it's pretty crazy because that's what we're seeing in the human world, you know, is pretty boys and Chad harems, and it's just getting worse and worse. And it's like the competition is so like staunch essentially because it's globalized, and it's like if you don't consider it to be overpopulated, well, that's fine. But basically, like the environment grew dramatically, wherein it used to be, you know, the nice girl in your small town that you knew from school or something, you know, your only competition was like the town, maybe a few neighboring towns potentially, and then like the school, and that was it, right? Where now it's the entire world. They have Instagram, TikTok, right? They have the other social media apps where all they have to do is post a picture of themselves and then they get offered to be flown out, or they get offered a vacation from some guy in another state or guy in another country. So that just equates to like the global Chad harem, I suppose. I don't know how much is going on with that necessarily. I feel like a lot of girls are still going to be more inclined to want to stay within their smaller local community, but I know that it is still a thing and it's still going to affect the smaller communities because it exists. So it's like they're going to expect you to compete at that level in that small community because they're just going to be like, well, look, I have, you know, I don't know, Muhammad in Dubai that says he wants to fly me out. So you better, you know, pick it up a notch, I guess. I don't know, but it's kind of just over. You know, I didn't think I was sub five, but I feel like I get looks like I'm sub five, and I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how I can maybe change that. Maybe I can like dress with brighter colors. I know that's like probably the biggest cope that I've ever said, but you know, I don't think I've tried that one out. So, you know, I'm really trying to just try out everything, just kind of just do a social experiment on myself, essentially, figure out what works. I haven't really found anything yet that works, to be quite honest. to be completely open and honest, I have not found really anything that works. But I've definitely tried a lot. Um, yeah, maybe I can wear brighter colors, because I wear a lot of black. So that's one option. I guess I might try that out and maybe make another video later on. And I don't know, because I really don't know what else. Like, I don't know, man. I mean, like, maybe I should try getting a friend, right? And like going somewhere with a friend. Yeah, maybe that would be the other option. Yeah, it's just over, It's just brutally over. Um, we'll see though.